Rooftop solar in trouble. All right, so I did a video just right now how there's going to be seizing land in the UK to make room for a 4 square mile solar farm and pristine agricultural land. Even if you don't want to sell your property, it's like kilo all over. It's even worse actually, but that's in the UK. But here's Wall Street Journal says right here: solar starts year with long shadows. And it reveals how the subsidy of rooftop solar is under fire, making the solar proposition a shaky political bet for the energy transformation. Since rooftop solar customers pay less on their utility bills, they end up contributing less towards maintaining the grid, which they still use. Because most solar consumers don't know they're still grid tied. They're not off grid. They think they have solar, they're off grid. No, they're not. They're grid tied. This has meant the cost burden was shifted to those without rooftop solar and often those who can't afford it. For rooftop solar companies, generous incentives were the training wheels that had to come off at some point. Of course, solar as a grid source is not economic. It's not. From the rooftop to the large solar arrays. So various government interventions pushed by the solar lobby must come to the rescue. Solar's investment tax credit, which offers a dollar-for-dollar federal tax for 26% of the cost of installing solar. Enacted in 2006, oh yeah, that's right, it's Bush, Republican, clown. It has been extended several times and continued through 2023. Look, you cannot vote for a Republican who's green because these things never go away. They do it just to get them off the back. Like, I'm the education president too. That's what George H.W. Bush said. I'm the environmental president too. That's what George W. Bush says. You just can't vote for these people because I tell you, that's why I don't like that guy, Matt Gaetz. We've got to be green because the kids like green. Well, the kids don't know what the hell they're talking about. So stand up and educate them, freaking idiot. All right, so then, but then comes net metering, a local state program that requires utilities to buy solar from the same rooftop systems at inflated prices. Let's see. Shares of residential solar companies like Sunrun and Sonova have fallen 19 and 14% respectively since the California PUC, Public Utilities Commission, put subsidies for rooftop solar on the chopping block by December. In fact, it's ironic. I just read an article from The Hill, complete scare tactic. It's freaking nuts. These guys are going nuts. It's an opinion piece. And I was like, this has to be an opinion piece. And thankfully it was. He's like, oh my goodness, we're all going to die. He's crazy. The commission plans to vote on it January 27th after taking public comments. So they're trying to get the rabble rouser. Like, we can't get rid of the incentives to net metering. We have to do it or else we're all going to die. That's what's happening here because these guys get paid back. They get paid back. Solar is a giveaway to the rich at the expense of the poor. Reverse Robin Hood big time. All right, California and Florida, to the sunny states, and just imagine if the investment tax credit were to expire too. Then it would be game over for rooftops on the grid, except for the wealthiest people wanting to virtue signal. 100%, man. Again, there's no, if you want to net metering, it's all money that the government is giving for you to buy your solar, but it cannot keep going for years. So if you're buying your solar panel thinking it's going to be, well, I hate the idea of replacement, whatever they call it. You know, when I'm going to get my money back, it's based on government. It dictates. That's it. It's not based on reality. If you want to go solar, you should go off grid with big battery banks. If you're doing it because you're going to get paid back after 5 or 7 years, that's all based on subsidies, man. You're taking money from the taxpayer. There's no other way around that. Look, I'm not yelling at anyone who does it. I know people who do it. But at the end of the day, don't do it because you think it's going to pay you back. It's not. It's on grid. Solar is good for small capacities off grid as a way to supplement your natural gas and your coal-fired electricity or nuclear. It's just that simple. The California has the highest electric rates in the lowest 48. In fact, let's take a look. I think I had that average kilowatt hours. This is from 2019, California, right there, 19.15 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's highest in the lowest 48. I thought Connecticut was actually higher than that. Let's see. Connecticut, yeah, right there. New Hampshire, Connecticut, the Northeast. So they don't, in terms of average price This is, might just be residential though. So either way, California is among the highest for sure. And I'm not sure if that includes, if you look at business, I imagine California is way high. Anyway, it's a mecca of high cost energies, including solar. California is a leader in rooftop solar adoption, and as of 2020, accounted for roughly a third of all new residential solar installations in the U.S. The state's customers account for roughly 40% of Sunrun's installed base and a quarter of Sunnova's. Much of California's rooftop solar has been fueled by net metering scheme, which again is getting ready to come to an end. Well, I doubt it will, frankly, but because they're going to, the California Public Utility Commission, they know this is, we cannot keep this up inevitably or infinitely or whatever. At some point, it's got to stop because we're losing. It's a lose-lose scenario. The net metering, which allows solar customers to sell excess electricity they generate during the day back to the grid at a pretty generous value, all right? Because they're generating it back to the day. The grid doesn't need it, but they're paying retail prices to get the electricity they don't need during the day. And then what they do with it? The same retail rate they are charged for their home electricity. That's helped spur solar adoption as intended, but someone else has to pick up the tab, you without the solar. Specifically, other ratepayers foot the bill, which has put the issue into play. Since rooftop solar customers pay less on their utility bills, they end up contributing less to maintaining the grid, which they still use. This has meant the cost burden was shifted to those without rooftop solar, and often those who can't afford it. Various groups peg that as a cost of at least $1 billion to $3.5 billion a year. The new rule would cut the rate solar customers get for selling their excess energy by a fair chunk. The rate will decline to 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour as during most sunny days, down from the 17 to 44 cents per kilowatt hour previously. What a freaking subsidy. Rob Peter to pay Paul, man. It also adds a carrot in the form of a credit for installations and a stick in the form of a grid charge for solar users. The bottom line is that it'll take new solar customers about 11 years to make back their upfront investment in the solar panels through reduced electricity bills. A substantial jump it takes just right now. So, I mean, literally, you can make back your money if the government just paid for everything. Hey, I'm making back my money. You can make it back today. There's no money to do that. Net metering rules have been contentious across the country, but overall seem inevitable in California. Its solar-heavy grid has an abundance of electricity during daylight hours, but a steep drop once the sun sets. This creates strains. Hawaii, which saw furious growth in the rooftop solar before getting rid of net metering in 2015, had to do largely out of necessity. Parts of its grids were overwhelmed by a surge of solar electricity generated during the day. There are some silver linings, though. It can't be too critical of the religion that is solar. One is that California's rooftop solar market is no longer at the peak of its growth. This means growth to some extent has to come from selling battery storage to those existing solar customers. The new rules create a price incentive for households to add storage. I had a client in California who's getting rooftop panels because of just this net metering. I said, man, you better add some batteries, dude. Add some batteries because this can't keep going. This can't. And the batteries will allow you to go off. And it's the transfer switch. You can go off grid while the grid is down for whatever reason, as long as you got enough batteries to power you. And you don't need a huge electricity, heat and air conditioning in most parts of California. But you're going to need it sometime. The battery's the only way to do it. Bloomberg estimates with the new rules of payback for Solar Plus will be, I don't know. For rooftop solar companies, generous incentives for we already talked about that. All right, so let's see what Sunnovo was called. Sunnovo and Sunran. Let's see here. Where was it? Sunnova and Sunran. Let's take a look, and it's just